Hello viewers, my name is Corey Heller. I'm an aspiring storyboard artist and character designer, and I am starting up a new podcast called Critimation. One thing you should know about me is that I have autism. Means that I tend to talk fast when I get excited about things and may have to slow down and think a bit. And on the plus side, I'm able to pick out details that some people might miss. In this podcast series, I will be reviewing films both old and new, as well as TV show episodes that stand out to me, all in the realm of animation. I will start my series with a 5-episode season, posting every 1 to 2 weeks, and then after a 2 to 3 month hiatus, I will start posting another 5 episodes on a weekly basis. Each episode will consist of 2 to 3 reviews of the films and TV shows that I will cover, and we'll start out with a description of each film/show episode, and then we dive into my review of the topic. There will be spoilers, so listen at your own caution. I do not own any of these shows or movies. This is just a honest fan review of the topics being covered. The first movie we will be covering is entitled The Secret Magic Control Agency. It is a spy genre take on the fairy tale Hansel and Gretel. Released on Netflix in 2001, the film is about a James Bond type agency that monitors the use of magic throughout the kingdom. Each person who wields magic must have a magic license, otherwise the agency can warrant for their arrest. The film centers on 2 siblings, aged Gretel, and the con artist magician Hansel, and they are forced to team up with each other after the king goes missing. And at one point, when expecting a bakery, as the king was kidnapped by food brought to life, they get turned into children. And because of this, they are unable to get help from their agency in order to change back, and therefore have to go out on their own and solve the case themselves. The travelers take them to different parts of the kingdom, including the cottage of Baba Yaga, who is a Russian witch that eats children. For those of you Don Bluth fans, she played a huge role in the direct-to spin-off film based on the character Bartok from Anastasia. They also go to a swamp filled with mermaids, where they discover that a witch who owns a gingerbread house is keeping the king captive and plans to feed him these love potion cookies in order to get him to fall in love with her and become queen. After following some cupcake soldiers to the summit of a mountain where the gingerbread witch is located, they are chased by a giant bun named Kulubark, who is basically a Olivic version of the gingerbread man. After defeating him, they are captured by the witch and thrown into a giant oven. There, Hansel, who, despite being a con artist, reveals that after their parents died, he gave up his life savings in order to help Gretel get into the agency that she works for, something she was unaware of. They manage to escape and bring a dragon statue to life in order to get back to the kingdom before the wedding ceremony. There they defeat the witch by making her fall into an oven in which she was making more love potion cookies to brainwash the kingdom into liking her. And they are eventually changed back into adults. After which, Hansel and Gretel become partners. One big takeaway that I had was that the film was able to not only incorporate Western fairy tales like Hansel and Gretel, as well as the likes of Cinderella. The director of the agency is known as Aged Stepmother, with the Gadget Girl, who served as the Q of the film, referencing the James Bond character. Agent's stepsister, both references to Cinderella. But also other fairy tales from around the world, such as Baba Yaga, Aladdin's Lamp, the Sword Excalibur, and the Seven League Boots, which I guess make people run fast. The film is able to put a unique spin on the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale by giving it a spy theme, while still having many of the themes of the original fairy tale, namely sibling loyalty, as the two, despite their differences, are able to look after each other and have each other's back. One of my favorite jokes is that at the end of the film, Agent's stepmother calls in the Brothers Grimm, where they are portrayed as archivists, and they are instructed to record the events of the film while leaving any spy genre details out. And I saw this as a really good meta moment to foreshadow how the original fairy tale would eventually be passed down for generations to come. I would recommend this movie to anyone who is tired of seeing Shrek rip-offs and is looking for something new in the fairy tale genre in terms of parody. The next film on our list is entitled The Bad Guys from DreamWorks Animation. Released in 2002 and based on the popular book series, it consists of a group of animals who form a criminal gang, and they consist of a wolf, a snake, a tarantula, a shark, and a piranha. After a failed attempt to steal an award called the Golden Dolphin, the team is arrested after many years of being chased after. But the recipient, Professor Marmalade, the guinea pig, volunteers to try to reform the gang. Wolf uses the opportunity to fake reforming so they can get out scot-free and keep being the bad guys. However, after rescuing a kitten from a tree, Wolf begins to realize that maybe being bad isn't the only option. At a second ceremony where the award is to be given, even though they plan to try to steal the award again, Wolf backs out, but in a twist of it, the gang is framed for stealing again, and Marmalade reveals to be evil, which he reveals in private that he plans to steal from his own charity using a mind control powered meteorite. As the gang are shipped to prison, the governor, Foxington, a fox who was rooting for the bad guys to reform throughout the film, reveals to be secretly a former criminal known as the Scarlet Paw, breaks them out. But the gang have a fallout as they don't agree with Wolf wanting to turn good, leaving Foxington and Wolf to try to stop Marmalade. When they attempt to disarm Marmalade's mind control device, it is revealed that Snake had sided with Marmalade. Before the two are killed, the other members of the gang have decided that they do want to reform, rescue them, and they stop Marmalade's plan. However, Marmalade, in a last-ditch effort to get away, he betrays Snake and has to be rescued by the group. After stopping Marmalade, Snake reveals that he never intended to really side with Marmalade and was only doing so to expose him. And despite saving the day, Wolf and his gang turn themselves in for all the crimes they committed in the past. And after a year in prison, they are let out for good behavior. Pun intended. I would recommend this film to anyone who's into anime-inspired films, as this movie takes a lot from anime such as Lupin the Third, which is also about a crime gang. In fact, Wolf tends to run a lot like the main character of the anime. Visual elements you would notice that are anime influenced are most relevant in the opening chase scene, where you have characters flying out their cars and trolling around when being hit. There's also action lines for zoom-ins, and when the camera zooms on characters to show their expressions. The film also takes influence from heist films such as the Ocean series and Pulp Fiction. The opening sequence is directly inspired by Pulp Fiction, in fact, and is the longest shot in the film, being about 25 seconds long. I enjoyed the chemistry between Wolf and Snake, voiced by Sam Rockwell and Mark Maron, respectively. I felt that they went well together and would like to see more films with the two interacting with each other. I also took note that the film appears to have a cel-rendered feel to it, similar to the Sly Cooper video game franchise, only with muted colors to reflect that crime feel, showing that it's not just a bright, cheery world. The internal struggles that Wolf and the other characters have is also a major point that I'd like to point out, as you can see, Wolf is debating on whether to turn good or not, and that conflicts a bit with the other characters as well, as they don't want to go against the stereotypes at first. My only criticism for this film is that the Trist villain Marmalade happens to be a guinea pig, and that reminds me too much of how some of the Trist villains we've seen in the past are also cute characters, such as the rabbit from Hoodwinked or the lamb Miss Bellwether from the Zootopia film. I feel that this trope has been done to death and should be retired for a while. I would recommend this film to anyone who is into heist movies or parody films, and I consider this one of DreamWorks' best non-franchise based movies in quite a while. Definitely look into it. The last movie for the week is entitled Snoopy Come Home. Released in 1972, this film stands out from Peanuts specials that were released at the time because it lacks the jazz soundtrack that we usually associate with Peanuts. Instead, the music was provided by the Sherman Brothers, who were known for Disney movies like The Jungle Book and Mary Poppins. The movie begins with Snoopy being kicked out of the beach because there's a no dogs allowed rule. The same thing happens when he tries to go into a library. Frustrated, he takes his anger out on Lucy and Linus. The following day, a mysterious letter from a girl named Lila arrives, entailing that she is at the hospital. Snoopy and Woodstock then set out to go see her. During their misadventures, they encounter a girl who tries to capture them and turn them into her pets. Based on the whole sequence in which they try to escape, I was getting serious vibes of the girl Elmira from Tiny Toons. Once they arrive at the hospital, Lila is greeted and the two rejoice. There's a whole B-plot in which Linus finds out that Lila happens to be Snoopy's original owner, much to the shock of Charlie Brown. Back at the hospital, Snoopy realizes he can't stand departed from Lila again, and she suggests that he move in with her. So when Snoopy returns home, the gang hold a farewell party for him. Once Snoopy's gone, Charlie Brown realizes that he has taken Snoopy's friendship for granted and can't stand being away from him. Once Snoopy arrives at Lila's apartment, he finds out that no dogs are allowed. Overjoyed, he bids farewell to Lila and returns to Charlie Brown. The gang rejoice of his return, and the film ends. Watching a Peanuts movie like this, I wasn't expecting to ugly cry. The song Do You Remember Me really pushed a tearful nerve on me, and I give credit to the Sherman Brothers for being able to give this emotion that we normally don't see in a Peanuts film. This could be because they were pushing for a more commercial Disney feeling during production, but nonetheless it fits the story very well. I also like how they characterized Woodstock as he was making his animation debut in this film. I like how his relationship with Snoopy is explored in much of the filler sequences of this movie, showing that they have a genuine friendship with each other, especially during a camping scene where they play music together, with Woodstock providing whistling to the music. But my favorite scene in this film is when Charlie Brown is taken to the county fair by Peppermint Patty so that they can get their minds off of Snoopy's absence. And while this is technically not a date, I can't help but ship these two together because of how throughout the sequence Peppermint Patty asks Charlie Brown what he thinks love is. Near the end, Charlie Brown states that his father would pick up this girl that he used to date and then let her in, and before he could get around and going on the driver's side, she would lock him out and then tease him. And while I think this is a pretty awkward moment, it subtly shows that these two might actually have a future together. Provided things don't work out for Charlie Brown and the little redheaded girl, of course. I would recommend this movie to not just Peanuts fans, but anyone who's into strong storytelling, as I see this as a good example of how animation can be able to tell stories that we normally can't accomplish with live action. I hope you enjoyed my first podcast where I review films and TV show episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter or on YouTube. I am open to suggestions and comments, so please drop me some feedback. See you next week on Critimation.